The grandson of the man who built the Word of Faith movement has been exposed, not just for animal cruelty, but for a pattern of sensual sin involving prostitutes, affairs, adult content, and blackmail payouts. And according to his own sister-in-law, his father didn't push him to get help. He pushed him to get a divorce to protect the family name. Welcome back to the channel where we follow the facts, name the names, and refuse to look away when Christian leaders fail the people they were called to serve. If this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe, because we cover these stories with the seriousness they deserve. Rhema Bible Church, one of the most historically significant institutions in the entire charismatic and Word of Faith world, is in a crisis that is shaking that institution to its foundation. I want to say something before we dive in. I am part of the charismatic tradition. This is my world. And I genuinely believe, that what is happening right now in the Hagin family is not random. This is the hand of God calling his church to clean things up. Hidden things are coming to light. And that is always painful before it is redemptive. To understand why this story matters so much, you need to understand who the Hagin family is and what they represent. Kenneth E. Hagin, known widely as Dad Hagin, is considered the father of the Word of Faith movement. He founded Rhema Bible Church and Rhema Bible Training College in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. His teaching on faith, healing, and the authority of the believer shaped an entire generation of charismatic ministers, not just in America, but globally. If you grew up in a charismatic or Pentecostal church anywhere in the world, the theology you heard almost certainly passed through Kenneth E. Hagin at some point. Kenneth E. Hagin passed away in 2003. His son, Kenneth Hagin Jr., took over as senior pastor of Rhema and has led the ministry since. And Kenneth Hagin Jr.'s son, the third generation, is Craig Hagin. Craig Hagin is not a peripheral figure. He is Rhema royalty, the grandson of the founder. And everything that is now being exposed about his life strikes at the very heart of a ministry that has taught holiness, faith, and kingdom living for decades. The story began to surface publicly when Craig and Mia Hagin were charged with animal cruelty in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Law enforcement found dozens of animals living inside their home under deeply unsanitary conditions. Some of the animals were dead. The Hagins initially faced felony animal cruelty charges. They ultimately pleaded no contest. Court records confirm the judge accepted the plea and found them guilty. The felony charges were then reduced. Craig's to 2 counts of misdemeanor disturbing the peace, and Mia's charges were similarly amended to misdemeanors. On the surface, that looked like the whole story. An ugly situation involving neglected animals, a guilty plea, reduced charges, case closed. But what has now come out makes clear that the animal cruelty case was not the real story. According to Mia's own sister, the animals were, in her words, just the cover story. We'll come back to that. On what would have been their 20th wedding anniversary, Mia Hagin took to social media and announced that she and Craig are separated and headed for divorce. What she wrote deserves to be heard in full, because it is one of the most painful and honest statements I have seen from a ministry wife in a very long time. I want to read it to you directly. Today, we would have been celebrating our 20th wedding anniversary, but we are now separated and headed to divorce. I did love my husband with all my heart, and I kept every vow I made to him 20 years ago today. While I'm being judged by him, his parents, I ask that they remember this. I never betrayed him. I stayed with him when my heart was tired, when my pride begged me to walk away. I stayed because I loved him. I stayed for our children. I carried loneliness quietly, never seeking comfort from others. I may not be the most beautiful. I may not be the one he desired most, but I never broke my values just to feel chosen. When he was broken, I stayed. When he failed, I stayed. When I became invisible in his life, I still stayed. I prayed, I fasted, I stood by him and covered him again and again and again. I lived 70 by 7. I may not have been a perfect wife, but I was the wife God gave him. I loved him, and my loyalty was never fake. He has been my best friend for 21 years, and being forced to separate the past 2 months has been very difficult. However, the separation time has given me time to process our past 20 years. Betrayal is a very hard thing to get over. It hurts in areas you would never expect. I now know that love without respect isn't love. I will no longer be anyone's doormat. I have given him 20 years to get things right. I pray for the Lord to hold my broken heart together as I pack up 20 years of memories in our home and I close our chapter in life. What was once one of the happiest days of my life is now the saddest. Divorce feels like failure and feels like a death, and I have to grieve their loss. You can't spend 20 years living with someone and not miss them once they are gone. It's a painful process. Please pray for both Craig and I. There is so much in that statement. The repeated emphasis that she never betrayed him, that she stayed when her pride was begging her to leave, that she carried loneliness quietly and never sought comfort from others, that she is being judged by Craig and by his parents. She is not naming sin specifically in this post, but she is making it very clear that the failure in this marriage was not hers. And she is equally making clear that the push toward divorce is not coming from her. She says she has been forced to separate. That language matters. Then Mia's sister stepped forward, and what she revealed is devastating. She states plainly that for 20 years, Craig Hagin has been living a secret life. One that included prostitutes, affairs, corn, and what she describes as blackmail payouts. She says this was not a recent failure. These addictions, she says, were present decades before he even married Mia. She describes watching her sister stand faithfully by Craig's side all these years, praying, interceding, begging the Hagin family leadership for help. And she says that help never came. The family knew, and the family protected the secret. And now, because Mia finally confronted the sin directly, Craig's father, Kenneth Hagin Jr., is the one pressing for the divorce. Not to protect Mia, not to pursue accountability for Craig, but to protect the institution, to keep the hidden things from coming fully into the light. Let me read the sister's statement to you directly, because it should not be paraphrased. These past 20 years has been one of the hardest things to walk through. Watching and knowing the hidden sensual addictions with prostitutes, affairs, corn, the blackmail payouts, etc., and how faithful my sister stood by his side trying to get him help and praying over her husband nonstop. We have spent years with distance between us because I didn't want my kids, my daughter and my beautiful daughters-in-law, to be around Craig, and for my kids to see the hypocrisy in the church and all the sinful secrets hidden under the name of the Lord. And even now, it's sad for me to say that if it was her decision, she would still stand by him, wanting to get him the help he needs to overcome his addictions. But the pride of his parents and their fear that the hidden things will come to light, they are the ones demanding the divorce. All these years, my sister begged for help from them, and they wouldn't help. These known addictions were there decades before he married her. This isn't about dogs or an animal shelter. That is just the cover story. Please continue to pray for my sister. They have taken everything from her to keep her quiet. When Craig and Mia were arrested on animal charges, the Hagins bailed Craig out within a couple of hours and left Mia in jail for days, until her kids came up with the money to get her out. She has zero financial support. She has lost everything. She needs support. I have stayed silent for 20 years and have realized my silence has only enabled the addiction and deception to continue. It truly has broken our family's hearts. Please pray for my sister and show her love while she walks through this heartbreak. I want you to sit with what that says. The Hagin family bailed Craig out within hours. They left Mia in jail for days. Her own children had to scrape together bail money for their mother. And when she finally got out, she had no financial support from the family whose institution she had served for 20 years. That is not a ministry protecting the vulnerable. That is a ministry protecting power. Rhema Bible Church and Rhema Bible Training College have trained thousands of ministers across generations. Hagin carries enormous weight in charismatic and Pentecostal circles worldwide, including in Africa, where Word of Faith theology has shaped countless churches and ministries. Kenneth Hagin Jr. now faces a moment of decision that will define his legacy and the legacy of the institution his father built. Will Rhema pursue genuine transparency and accountability? Will Craig be placed under appropriate discipline? Will Mia be supported financially, pastorally, publicly? Or will the institution continue in the direction the sister's statement suggests, managing the narrative, protecting the brand, and hoping the story fades? The sister has broken her silence after 20 years. Mia has spoken. This story is not going away. I want to speak directly to anyone watching this who is part of the charismatic or Word of Faith tradition. This is not a moment to walk away from the church. This is a moment to demand that the church be the church. The God we serve does not wink at secret sin in his leaders. He exposes it, because exposure is the beginning of healing, not the end. Pray for Mia Hagin. She is a woman who, by all accounts, stood faithfully in an impossible situation for 20 years. She deserves the church's support, not its silence. And pray for Craig Hagin, not as a soft escape from accountability, but as a genuine intercession that he would face what he has done and find the repentance that is still available to him. The Hagin family built something significant for the kingdom. That history is real, but legacy cannot become a shield for unrepentant sin. And the God who built Rhema is more than capable of rebuilding whatever honest accountability costs. If this video was useful to you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment below with your thoughts, and make sure you are subscribed to Voice of Honor, because we will continue following this story as it develops.